So we will now move on to our next speakers, Indigenous business models from Australia. Can I welcome to the stage Rowena Leslie, Director of Contracting. Rowena is a, oh boy, I'm gonna screw up that. Wongai, sorry. Citizen from the northeastern goldfields region of Western Australia. She was born in Kalgoorlie and grew up in the region where her family has been involved in the mining sector for several decades. Rowena completed a law and arts degree in the University of Western Australia. She's actively involved in her community from her role as a board member at CAPS School, Inc., and chair of Currawong. I'm learning a new language. Aboriginal people in mining, civil works. She's also the chair of the Goldfields Aboriginal Business Chamber since its inception and a member of the Aboriginal Advisory Council of Washington, WA?
Western Australia.
Western Australia.
Yeah, WA.
Since 2022. Now that I've butchered that very badly, please welcome to the stage, Rowena.
Well, thank you for that introduction. And I might overlap a little bit in my presentation. But Yua means hello in Wongai language, and Garnbi na Ngura, that means this is a lovely place to be in, so thank you for that. I firstly want to acknowledge the traditional owners, that's what we call First Nations people back home, the Kwanandan and the Tan Kwachan councils. Thank you so much for allowing us to be on your land and in this beautiful building here to be able to present. And I also want to acknowledge the traditional, the elders, your elders past and present, and all the other First Nations people in this room. I also, if I could also thank the Geoscience Conference organisers, the Yukon Chamber of Mines. Thank you so much for having me here. I want to make a special mention of BMC and Alan Nixon. Thank you so much for hosting us and bringing us over. So I'm just going to go through and tell you a little bit. Oh, I got the clicker. I'm going to tell you a little bit about where I'm from. So the place is called the Goldfields. It's a region of Western Australia. The population is 54,000 for that region, and that's over. There's 10% First Nations people in that region, and I looked up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the Yukon, it's 45,000 people, and 22% of that is First Nations people. So a little bit of similarities, and I just wanted to mention as well the name Goldfields. Obviously, there's gold there, and other minerals as well. So it's a big mining industry that happens there. In terms of area and space, we're double the size of the Yukon, and there's 60% native title determination. Now, I don't know how many people in this room have heard about native title or what that means. I'll get a little bit further down in my speech and I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but essentially it's a recognition of traditional owners for the lands in the area, and so 60% has been determined by the federal government, and there's still 40% to go, or not 40%, but for all the areas that are not extinguished. So native title can exist at the same time as pastoral leases and mining leases. So those things don't extinguish native title. And but what does extinguish native title is towns and freehold title. I'll give you, I just want to introduce a little cultural practice that it's sort of inherent to us, and it's something that's a theme that will probably, you'll catch on along the way as I speak, and it talks to this word that we use, it's called yamadhi. So a yamadhi is someone who you take along on a journey with you. we always take someone with us, and we want them to come along not only as a companion, but we also want to show them the way. So wherever we're going, whatever we're doing, we want to show them the way. And for this trip, I was able to bring my son, Tristan, who's there in the orange outfit, filming me. And he's also in the photo, the photo, I gotta click this. The photo up here, and he's the little guy with the red basketball uniform on. So we're a basketball family as well. Anybody want to talk about basketball, come and see Tristan afterwards. He loves talking about it. But the guys that are next to him, all except for one, is his relative, and they played for a team opposite of him. That day, we're at an Aboriginal basketball carnival down in a town called Albany, and these guys are back from home, a town called Leonora. But it was really good camaraderie, good relationship building. But the point is that term Yamandi, we always want to come along with each other. We want to support one another. And these sporting events, they really encourage the kids. They get them to be disciplined, and it really helps when you have someone to go with. So that's going to be my theme for today. How we started. So I own a mining services company with my sister. She's in the photo there. We started the company when about 11 years ago. And before that, I was a lawyer. I was pursuing my career in law. And my sister, she did her studies in business admin and human resources. And so we were working in our spaces, and then we decided to have children and looked after our kids at home full time. But my mind is still going, and we're still having yarns. Oh, thank you. I got to get used to that. So we're always thinking about what business can we do, What is it that we can do? And we're sitting around yarning all the time, talking about that. And then one day a opportunity came to us. We were told that there was a contract out there. It was going to last 5 years, and they needed a water cart. They just needed a water cart, that's it. So that's a water cart on the bottom there. And a water cart costs roughly, well, back then, it's more now, $250,000. So we thought, oh, we could do this. We provide loans specifically for Aboriginal people. So they started off giving loans for houses. If you want to get a home loan, then they're the people you go to. And then also for business loans, obviously. So we went to these guys. We said, oh, we got an opportunity for a contract here. Can we get a loan from you? And it took a bit of convincing. A lot of paperwork, because it's government and you're getting money from the government. It's a lot more rigorous, the application process, than a bank, I think, now. But at the time, we were just really excited for this opportunity. And, $250,000 was really a lot of money for us, and a bit daunting to think that we're committed. We had to find work for it, or make sure that it continued to work for that period of time so we could pay that truck back. So that's how we started. We had little kids at the time. So my kids are 14, 12 and 10, and we started this company in 2013. So 11 years it's been going. So, imagine having 3 little ones and trying to run a business a bit full on. So we were slowly building the company over the years, and adding a worker, a driver for the truck. So first it was dry hire, and then it went hire. And then we looked for other opportunities where we could put another machine on, and slowly that built up until one day we heard of an opportunity where we could pursue a bigger contract. So we approached the general manager. His name was Richard McLeod, and he's actually a Canadian from Toronto. He was the GM for Tropicana Gold Mine, and he liked the proposal that we had for him. So it was a significantly larger contract, and we provide water, dust suppression, refueling and waste management for the whole site. And that contract, they decided to give it to us, 2 women in mining. And I thought, wow, this is great, we can definitely do this job. So that was a big change for us, and it really helped having a secure contract like that. For 5 years, it allowed you to buy these machines, it allowed you to, to pay it off, and also to build your systems for a business. Just in terms of the next, where we are now. So that led us to not only on that mine site, so we're slowly building our systems in that place. We're got our machinery, got our maintenance program set up, and then we're looking for other opportunities, because when you go into business, you need to diversify a little bit. So, well, this is what I'm told. And we went into roadworks. So we did a bit of roadworks. The Department of Main Roads were looking for Indigenous businesses, and I thought, well, okay, we could do that. We went over there and offered some of our work to them. We also took on some of the projects in civil works and civil construction. So this is my team. This is a couple of years ago, but this is a team on one of the sites, and our brand new water cart in the background. The other thing too is that where we are now, we're able to deal with banks. So just recently we got pre-approval to purchase $2 million worth of machinery, which is, if you would have told me that before, would have knocked me out, like $2 million, but it seems like nothing in the mining industry to get that much machinery. We actually have that much machinery now on work, but for future purchases, and we're already looking at a loader, a potable water, and a dual cab grader. The dual cab grader will be used to train people to become experts at grading. So when you do roadworks in Australia, you have to be a final trim operator. I'm not sure if the term translates over here, but they're the elite, the best of the best. And we want to, there's a lot of grader operators out there, but it's that training from getting them to be able to just operate it, but to operate it within, I think it's I'm trying to think of the language. You do metrics, right? Yep. About 20 cent piece, so that big. 5 mils, 10 mils maybe, 10 millimeters of difference when you're moving the dirt off the road or thereabouts. Whereas in mining, it's, that much. So getting them to be trained, that's what we've bought that machine for, or it's being built at the moment. Before I came over here, it was tender writing season, we call it. And every year, so we do contracts, we do quotes for people for become subcontractors on other projects. And we just give them a quote. Here's our quote for a day rate for a machine and people. And in the last 3 years, we've been giving the opportunity to tender. And that means that we're running the whole project. And so we've been successful for the last 3 years on, getting at least one contract each year. And that's allowed us, again, to build our systems, build our capabilities. But this tender season, we did 6 tenders, and hopefully we win, 2 of them for next year, I'm hoping. And those projects usually last about 6 weeks to 6 months. And the cost of value of those contracts are about $1 million to $3 million. Another thing that we did as a company, we also became ISO accredited. So that's making sure that all our systems are internationally of international standards. So our safety management systems, our environmental management systems, and our quality assurance systems. And we really wanted to get this. We're only a small company, but we wanted to get this to understand and know that our systems are meeting good quality, good standards, and also to understand what our clients and other people are expected to do. When we're on a mine, we want to make sure people are doing the right thing by the land and by the people. And I think as an Aboriginal business in mining, I get the question a lot about why, why are you in mining? It's damaging the country. Aren't you concerned about that? Of course I'm concerned about it. But I live in an area where mining has happened 100 years before me, it's going to happen 100 years after me. While I'm involved in mining, while I'm there, I want to make sure it's done to the best of its ability, caring for the people and the land as well. So we invested that into our business. It's a lot of work, but we really enjoyed providing that service. The other thing too in Australia, and I think you guys do it as well, but we have these heritage officers on site, and heritage officers are there to make sure that our sacred sites, our special places around the mine site are protected. And so they go out and check it, they make sure that it's good, make sure that the plants, the wildlife are being protected and the animals. And that it's really important to have somebody from country to be able to be there on country and know what that place should look like without with the mining impact that's going on. So it's really good that mining companies have this in their team, someone in their team, and give them the authority too. They have to have authority to say, no, wait a minute, you're gone too close to that place, or we see too much dust, or something's happening over in this area that you need to respond to or take better measures. A lot of mining companies over in Australia as well, they offer scholarships and traineeships for Indigenous people, and they do that so that people can go from, driving a truck to being able to tell people where to drive the truck. So moving them up in management in the mining company. And that's something that our company as well, we really take seriously. So when I engage with a client or a head contractor, I always approach it and say, listen, how can our workers get skilled, get trained from your workers? I have a supervisor here, I want him to be shadowing your project manager. Is that possible? Can you teach him along the way on this job how to do that? So we're always looking for capability, building opportunities with our partners. And I think it's really important that we that happens in that relationship. So our mission statement when we started the business, it was always about using the business to create wealth, and that wealth not for only ourselves, but for our community. We really loved what we can do as a business owner to be able to invest in our community. So we, like I said, we like investing in our people. That's in our mission statement. And we like to see, sometimes, you invest in them and then they leave, but that's great. That's great. I'm happy for that. I wish they stay with us, but sometimes you've got to move on. And then later on, I'll see them and then we'll work in a different space together. But it's really good to invest in people. It comes back around. You're building your community up, really. And investing in our organisation. So my sister and I, we sit on a lot of community organisations. We use the skills that we have, my law skills and her financial skills, to be able to assist our community organisations. We sit on a community called Currawang, as that was said earlier. That's an Aboriginal community that has 30 houses. We have a school there. So there's roughly 100 people who live there, and but the school has 80 kids. So kids come in, bus into our community to go to school, and that's a primary school. So we love sitting on that board. We sit on a couple of other boards, but just being able to use our skills in the business community and get other businesses to support those community initiatives is really impactful, and that's something what we like to invest in. We also like investing in community events. So in our culture, we used to do a thing, and sometimes we still do, is corroboree. I don't know if you've heard of that word before, but it's where we all meet together, all our groups come together and we meet, we have a celebration. And so a modern day corroboree would be a sporting event for us now. So in Kalgoorlie, we run a football carnival, Aussie rules. I don't know, anybody seen Aussie rules before? No? Oh, yeah, a couple of hands at the back there. That's good. So we have a Aussie Rules Football Carnival, and then we also have a netball carnival. Who's watched netball before? Oh, yeah, that means you guys have been to Australia, or Australians, maybe. I asked somebody yesterday if you knew what netball was, and they just looked at me like I was crazy. So this is, the girls are celebrating the end of the game here, but netball is a big thing. So the men play their football and the women play their netball. And my sister, she loves it. She's heavily involved with this event. It gets all the people together in a positive way. In our community, a lot of times we get together and it's a funeral. It's always a negative. And we wanted to ensure that more positive things are happening in our community. So we really love investing in these community events. So how did we get to having these sort of visions and thinking about how we can impact our community? And I heard a few people already talk about their history. So you got to sort of, I'm going to give you a little flashback, a history of Australia and how that impacted my people. So here's a little list for you. Knowing our past informs our present. In the past, we, from first contact, I believe that we were always denied the right to economic independence. And it started for us in the Goldfields region in 1896. So Australia's colonised on the east coast, or they've claimed the land over there, and as terra nullius, empty land, in 1788. In Western Australia, on the side I'm at, it's 1829. That's in Perth area, and down in Albany a couple of years before that. But in the goldfields, they didn't rush up to the goldfields until 1896, and that was because someone found gold there. And then you had that mad rush of gold, which I'm sure you guys have a similar history and understanding of that. But for those first 80 years, until 1967, Aboriginal people were not considered citizens of our own land, or recognised by the British and then Australian government as citizens. In the Constitution, we were actually regarded as flora and fauna, because again, they're recognising their country, their claim on this land, as an empty land. So there's no people there. So the people that are there, they're saying, well, actually, they're not people. They're part of the plants and animals. So this is the sort of relationship that we've had, from the very start. Already we're not being, included in whatever was happening in the country. And then you had the Racial Discrimination Act, which made it unlawful to discriminate on a person based on their race. And I think this law, I don't think they realised how much it would impact, because there was laws that were made in 1905, the 1905 Act, so laws that were made previously that were seriously discriminatory towards Aboriginal people. So the 1905 Act, what happened there was Aboriginal people were controlled, more or less. So you couldn't move anywhere without telling the Chief Protectorate. You couldn't marry someone without asking for his permission. You couldn't work somewhere without them allowing you to have that job. And the money that you earned would go to them, and then you would have to ask them for that money. And then there was, stolen generation that came out of that. So they had every right to take your children from you. And so it was pretty significant, pretty damaging to the family unit, pretty damaging to our culture, removing our culture from us, removing language from a lot of people as well. So these acts were regarded as unlawful under the Racial Discrimination Act, and things started to change in any acts that they made going forward, because the Constitution actually still allows for the Commonwealth Government to make laws specific for Aboriginal people. So that's still in there. Last year we had a referendum. We tried to say, let's be at the table. Now the Australian government's going to allow us to be at the table when you make those laws, and Australia said, no, we don't want you at the table. So there you go. In 1992, there was a a case law, Mabo v Queensland, and in that case, that's when the High Court of Australia, they decided that the basis for the claim to the land was null and void. So it wasn't empty land, it wasn't terra nullius, there was actually people there, and they had practices, they had laws, they had property rights that they had to consider. And because they'd been there for so long, Australians had been there for so long, they had to work out how do we live together and continue to go forward. So native title is something where, you know, it's a layer. It's not to continue to have practices on our land, to have that connection, but most importantly, it gives us the right to negotiate, and that's been very significant, a game changer in our economic independence. It's allowed us to be able to say, right, you're going to come on our land, you're going to work in this area. How is that going to impact us, and how can we be a part of whatever you're doing there? Oh, and the last one. So this is where we are today, and I think you guys would know a bit about this as well because it's happened for you. So in 2009, Australia signed UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. There was also, you know, a lot of movement in the world about the environmental concerns, and then also the financial crisis, 2008. Really impacted the way that we allow corporations and organisations to run, and making sure that they're doing the right thing by the people. So once that happened, and a result of that, in 2015, the Australian government implemented a Indigenous procurement policy. So that meant that as an Aboriginal business, you can apply for tenders. You could do that anyway, they said, but this time we're going to give you more consideration for that, and I believe you have similar policy over here. So how has that affected me? This gentleman here on my right, your left, I think. So he's my great-grandfather. He was not a citizen. He didn't want to sign up for government rations, and he really valued his independence. He didn't like that he had to tell people where to go and what to do. So what he did was he used his knowledge of country to be able to help survive with his family. And the little things you can't really tell on that picture, but what he's holding up there are 2 nuggets. And he found a lot of gold, so he's well known to the prospectors around in the Goldfields region. That was his forte. But if he found gold, then they ate. If he didn't find gold, then, you know, they're looking for some begging and asking other people for food. But he really used that to help him to survive, and he wasn't the only one to do that. A lot of other Aboriginal families did that as well. And what happened was they created a mission, actually put together a battery plant, so that when they found ore, gold ore, they process it through that plant there as well. The other thing too is that at the time when my grandfather's doing this, they don't have the right to hold these prospecting leases and licenses. What happened was that they had to ask a citizen, which is usually a white person, a white man, and that person holds it on trust for them. And when they find gold, they go to deposit it, and that person, the trustee, has authority over that. It goes into the bank, and then whenever they want the money, they have to again go through that person. So it's still controlled. He's still controlled in some sense, but now he knows the person and he's looking at them and he can have that conversation. But my great-grandfather did all right with that, and what he did, and he was able to take care of his family. So moving along from there, in 1992, this created a big change. Like I said, Mabo had been won his case. So Mabo is actually from way the opposite side of where we're from. And he's the law that happened there, it just impacted all of us. And what happened in my region was that we looked at ways to negotiate the right to work. So my mum at the time, I'm young, very young, but I'm looking at them, and they got together, my mum with her brothers and her cousins. They said, okay, let's put together an Aboriginal organisation, corporation, and then under that corporation we'll set up a business arm, a little bit similar to the Dev Corps that you have here. So they set that up, and the whole point of that contracting business was to get jobs, to negotiate with mining companies to get jobs. So slowly they built that up until they had, I think by 1996, so 2 years later, they had 100 employees on one mine site, and they managed those, the Indigenous employees. And they managed that, and the contracts that they did very well and successful. But slowly, each family member moved away, and they decided to let's start another business. So it was really good. One business, they all supported one another, learnt along the way, and then they said, righto, I can do this, and then they moved on and started their own business. So it was really good. One of the guys, my uncle who left, his business is actually the most successful Aboriginal contracting, civil mining contracting business in Australia. So he did very well. My parents, they moved away to my stepdad's country, and there they slowly built up their skills. So they started again from doing fencing and seed picking and a little bit of water dust suppression again. And they were looking for more work. They knew what the potential was. They understood what they were capable of doing. And so they went out and just made pitches to all these general managers on all these different mines. And one of those general managers was Scott Donaldson, the now CEO of BMC, and at the time he was the GM of Jabiru Metals. And he saw their logo on a truck, and he was looking for an Aboriginal business to engage with, and then he got the phone call from them. So it was sort of like already prepared fate. He called them into the office the next day, and they shook hands on a deal. That was it. I was like, man, I wish the deals was like that now, but you know. But it was a really good deal. He said, look, you come on site, you do the day works. I've got some work for you over here. Can you do that? And my parents said, yeah, we can do that. And he said, I'll keep looking for work for you because I want to keep you on site. And, you know, they started off doing those odd end jobs, you know, road maintenance and a little bit of clearing and dust and waste, making sure the waste was all taken care of. And then Jabiru Metals left. They sold it to another company. The next company kept Bandara on. Then they kept working. And then another company came on, IGO. I don't know if they're in Canada, but they really took Bandara to the next level. They said, right, we need haulage of some dirt from a satellite pit. Can you do that? Yes, we can do that. They like what they did, and they said, oh, we need a tails dam to be built. Can you do that? Yes, we can do that. They had their supervisor over to make sure everything was good, and they went over there and they built that tails dam. And then they asked them to do a tails dam lift. So all of these things created capability, it created a strengthening their company. And slowly until they got to the point where they said, right, we need someone to manage the ROM and to haul the haulage to the ROM pad. So Bandara was successful in winning that contract, and then they stayed on that contract until the mine just recently closed for care and maintenance last year. But this photo up here of the guys, that's at daybreak, that's them doing their pre-start meeting. And the reason I have them up there, and I should have just had them instead of, but you know, you can see the works there in the background. One of the guys up there, I'm just trying to look at which one, I think it's the one up this end here. So this guy is an example. About half of these guys never worked on a mine site before, and learned a lot from my stepdad, how to drive it, how to drive machinery, what to do. But this guy especially, like, he'd been unemployed for a long time, not able to read and write very well. And he became one of their best operators. If they needed anything, they'd ring him, he could get on it. And that was a slow build, but it was something that they were able to mentor him. And today, actually, for the last 3 years now, he's been able to run his own company in Sandalwood. So it's that bringing someone along again and showing them the way, and now they're able to do it. And he's able to do it for his family as well. 1 minute. Oh, sorry, I should have been looking at that. I'm going to wrap it up. This is the last little bit. So for us as my company, we looked at a way we could bring other people along, because I was able to experience this from other, my parents' company and so forth, to see what happened. And so I wanted to encourage other Aboriginal businesses in how to grow. This is the Goldfields Aboriginal Business Chamber. We started this in 2020. And it started off by us getting invited by Tees Mining to be able to go in with them on a tender. And we thought, no, let's get some other Aboriginal businesses to come along to the table and see if they can be a part of this tender package as well. And unfortunately, they didn't win that tender, but it really started us talking together about how we could come together as a group to offer a greater service and then to be able to get a bigger piece of the pie. So the stats are there. The people own their own businesses, they run their own businesses, and we just support one another. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you very much, Rowena. I want to first say that was not her miss. That was our technical glitch. We didn't turn the clock on. So all on us. Thank you. Could have listened forever. Wonderful job. I think there are obviously some similarities in the history across other countries as well, but what I really like is seeing the direction we're going, and that industry is supporting the direction we're heading across the world.